Hi there, everybody. This is David from My Metal Today, and I have been focusing on bands who are going to be playing Grillfest, which is happening in September in Utah. And today I am with a couple members from ShadowStrike, who will be one of the bands playing. I have Matt and Sean here. And Matt and Sean, I'll actually turn it over to you all and let you introduce yourselves.
All right. I'm Matt Grace. I'm the guitarist and vocalist of ShadowStrike.
I'm Sean Walls. I just play guitar for ShadowStrike.
Very cool. Well, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you making the time today. And I hear we may have one more person joining, and so we may have somebody pop in at some point. And if we do, we'll actually pause and introduce them when the time comes. So the way I typically like to start these interviews in general is, I like to talk about the origin story. So let's talk through, like, how did ShadowStrike come into being? How did you meet? How did you kind of land on this style of music? Like, there's a lot of ways you can go with it, but maybe walk me through the origin story a little bit.
I guess it goes way back. So the bassist is my little brother John, and we grew up playing instruments a lot. And Sean and I, we met like 1999. Like way, and like we were in like elementary school, 3rd grade. Yeah. And I think for me, it was when we liked, what was it, Majora's Mask on Nintendo 64. It was a video game, a Zelda game.
Oh yes.
And there was like a band in like one of the levels in the game. There was like this band, and we were like little kids, and we're playing. We're like, oh yeah, let's be in a band. So we had this like idea in a band. Then we got into orchestra, and we played violin and orchestra. He played bass, and so we got more into music and everything. And then we decided, hey, let's actually do a band. Like that idea we had when we were kids, and we started doing bands, I guess, in junior high school. And I guess the first incarnation of what became ShadowStrike started in 2005, and we were pretty much just doing cover songs, like System of a Down covers and stuff, a lot of System of a Down covers at the time. And then there was a shift somewhere where we were like, let's do power metal. Because we started getting into the genre more, and we say we formed in 2010 because that's when we got like our first like solid lineup, and we started really writing the songs for our first demo that we came out with in 2012. And then we kept writing. We came out with an EP in 2014. Some new members joined along the way. We kept writing. We came out with our first album, Legends of Human Spirit, and then that's when it was pretty much off to the races. More attention came onto us. We got our label in Japan, Avalon Records, and we've just been steadily going at our own pace, and we came out with Traveler's Tales in 2023. Wow, 3 years ago already? Man,
yep.
It's been a long journey. I would say, about like 21. If you want to say 2005, when we started really, playing in a band together, and it was me, Sean, and John. We started doing it, and we've been the three core, old OG members going through the whole, the whole lifespan of the band, and I think it helps with the writing too, because we've known each other for over 20 years. It's like we're all family, and it shows with the other guys in the band too. It's like we have like a real good family unit of just really good friends that just love doing this kind of stuff. So it kind of makes the experience even better, because we're doing a lot of like playing in Europe, and it's like we're just all together, and it's like just like our lifelong friends, and like this like fan, like we're just doing these things together. So it makes it really fun, I think, for everybody.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. I am curious though, how do you go from chop suey to power metal?
I don't know. I think it was me.
Yeah,
I think it was. I always liked. I mean, System of a Down, like their older stuff is great. The Toxicity album is amazing. But I really liked when they started going like on their Mesmerize album and their Hypnotize album, started getting more like progressive and like more melodic with their stuff than like the older like new metal-y kind of death metal stuff. And then I remember it was like I remember it like vivid. I woke up one night, it was a weekend Saturday. Headbangers Ball was on. I'm like, oh, let me watch Headbangers Ball. and it was. They said this is the new Dragonforce song, Through the Fire and the Flames, and they were showing it on Headbangers Ball. And I heard of Dragonforce before because I downloaded one of their songs on iTunes like years before. It was My Spirit Will Go On off their second album. And I was like, this band is awesome, but like it didn't. There was no visual to it, at the time. And I was listening to a whole bunch of stuff at the time, and I was just a little punk kid and doing all this stupid stuff and whatever. And then when I saw it, and I saw the music, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to do this. I want to do this. And then and I was like, guys, we got to play this music. And then who Greg was in the band at the time. He's like, I don't want to do this. I'm going to play hardcore music, and he left, and because no one, it's like dragons and stuff like that. So it was like, no, it's awesome. It's great. I think it was that, and it was just all of our classical background kind of aided into the genre, because there is that symphonic element in our music too, but also in power metal in general. There's always that classical undertone, I guess, in the writing progressions and stuff. So I think it just was like a natural, and plus we're all nerds. I mean, like anime and video games. So thinking about friendship and hope and love and dragons and saving princesses and plumbers jumping on turtles is just what we like to do.
I think also just to add a more, I don't know, I guess serious addendum to that is also, I think we were all super interested in like trying to get as good as we could at our instruments too. So approaching a mountain such as, playing really fast like that and kind of honing our craft, as it were, I think that was another big appeal, to power metal. I know I definitely was like, what are they doing? How the hell do they do that kind of stuff? So
I think the only reason why we didn't get into prog was because our theory wasn't because we started doing this when we were 14, 15, so it's we just weren't there with it was Dream Theater, it was power metal at its core is very, the song structures and the chordal structures, it's very pop. It's especially the European style. The American stuff is more riff based than, but the style that we play, it's at its core, it's very, it's very pop music. So it was a little bit, I guess, easier for us to get into. But then there was the mountain of okay, well, yeah, we can hold out these chords for a measure or two and change them, but now we got up to the solo and all the cool guys are playing solos that are 4 minutes long. What do we do now? And it really it really put us to the test, really. And looking back at all the shelved songs we had over the years and everything, and just they kept getting better and better and better until we finally got into that oh, okay, here we go, this is This is how we do it. We can do it now.
Yeah. No, very cool.
It's what were we thinking? That doesn't work. That's terrible.
It's interesting how influential not only Dragonforce has been, but that specific song, Through the Fire and Flames.
Yeah.
As soon as it came out on Guitar Hero, Dragonforce just suddenly exploded. They'd been around for a little while, and I think, but they were kind of like many power metal bands or a little more niche. Suddenly it's considered the hardest, most impossible song to play on hard mode on Guitar Hero, and or expert mode, and suddenly everybody knew who Dragonforce was, and it was just amazing to see that blow up. But then also see again just the influence they've had, and I can hear Dragonforce influence in so many bands. And it's not even necessarily that a band is by any means a copy of them. It's just it's hard not to take influence from them. If you want to play crazy long solos that are going a million miles an hour, and then when you think the solos should be done, you're playing the solo for another minute or two. That's Dragonforce to a T, right? They're the band that kind of invented that in a lot of respects.
Yeah, definitely. There was no power metal scene in America really before Dragonforce. There were bands the American power metal. You had Virgin Steel, bands like that, Iced Earth. There were bands, power metal bands in America, and there were underground bands. There's a huge underground scene and all that. But I think Dragonforce really did, like, it woke up all the bands that, like, you know, are doing stuff now, you know, like, I mean, people knew Power, people knew Rhapsody of Fire, people knew Stradivarius, people knew these types of bands, but Dragonforce really, like all these bands, like these, like, you know, these, like, underground bands that are in the U.S. power metal scene that are playing Mad with Power, playing Mile High and Grillfest, and, like, you know, the bands, like, our colleagues and all these bands, you know, we were all at that age, that, like, high school age, around, you know, give or take, or at that time when Dragonforce came out, and it inspired, like, all these bands in a certain way. Not that a lot of these bands are writing exactly like what Dragonforce is, but it made them excited for the genre. Like, it was just like, wow. And then when Guitar Hero came out, I mean, you know, going to the early Dragonforce shows, there's, you know, it was like, you know, smaller venue, and then Guitar Hero came out, and then they're like selling out, like, you know, these venues in Manhattan, you know, Irving Plaza, it was packed, you couldn't get in.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, it was, whoa, what's, you know, and it really, I think it opened the floodgates for all, like, just the genre in this country, really. I you know, without them, I think it would have been, you know, it would have been even more underground than it is now. It really did help the genre a lot. Them, and I would say, like, Nightwish too, another big popular one. Put eyes on, like, the symphonic kind of metal.
Absolutely.
And there's overlap there with the genres. It's not that Nightwish is, you know, all power metal, but, you know, there's definitely a lot of overlap. And yeah, I think they really helped it. But Dragonforce, definitely. I mean, like, we wouldn't be doing. We'd be singing. Yeah. We'd be singing Toxicity at a dive bar with our Folgers can.
Well, clearly, Dragonforce is an influence. I think we've established that pretty well. Who would you say some of your other influences are, and how has that maybe changed over the course of your album writing? Because I know I definitely hear what I consider influences, or at least bands that I can hear, like, oh, well, you know, you're kind of in the same vein as some of these bands. But I'm curious, like, who would you say some of your other influences are?
I'd say Aquaria.
Yeah.
There's this band from Brazil, underground symphonic power metal band, Aquaria. If you listen to them, you hear a lot of Angra influences from them. It's like, okay, you know, almost like like not a carbon copy, but there's a lot of like, it's like you listen to, like, so you can A and B certain, like, passages, and it's like, oh, okay, like, they're definitely pulling influence from you know, Angra on it. But they had this sound when I discovered them for the first time, and I was like, it sounded like it was like Broadway or like Disney metal. It has this very, like, you know, this was, I don't even, when did it be, like 2006, 2007, and it's been this album, Lux Aeterna, and it's this big symphonic, happy, like, it was like Twilight Force before Twilight. It was like this happy, sparkly, like, I'm like, whoa.
Twilight Force? I'm wearing a Twilight Force shirt today, actually.
I mean, the music's not like like sound-wise, like the writing styles are completely different. Twilight Force, but like that. What I mean by it is like that melodic happiness, like it's just all major keys, huge choirs, symphonics, and everything. And we basically, if you listen to that band and you listen to, like, the Dragonforce, old school Dragonforce, and you merge those two together, and you add a little bit of the band Galnerius from Japan, and
fabulous,
and a little bit of Rhapsody of Fire, and you kind of merge those together. That's, I would say, like, those are like the four big: Rhapsody of Fire and Stradivarius, like those older bands, Dragonforce, Aquaria, and Galnerius. I think those are the bands that our North Stars. Yeah, like when we're writing and we get into a roadblock, it's like, what would Aquaria do? What would they? Well, this song kind of sounds more like a rap. Like, what would Luca Turilli do right now? And then we kind of, like, to always step back, and because we love the genre, so, like, it's like we want to do it right. Don't, like, not like reinventing the wheel, but we just want to make the music sound good. So we use our influences, what we like, and that's it. I don't know. I would say like Brian had, and that's the thing. Like, the way we write too, using our influences as a band. Every band has different writing methods and how they write everything. some bands, they get together at a rehearsal and they start writing the song live and they jam and they write. But we pretty much, it's like whoever writes the song, they'll write like the whole song out and they send it to the other members. And sometimes the members will like change some things and like make it their, like a part their own or whatever. Sometimes there's collaboration between a song, between a few members. But like Ryan, our keyboardist, has like a whole bunch of different influences too. He also plays guitar. He's classically trained on guitar, so he writes guitar, some guitar parts too on songs. But he has all these different. His band, like his influence is more Ensiferum, folk metal, black metal, gamma ray. Like he has these different influences that he brings in. So like two songs that he did. One for he did "Fly with Me" on Legends of Human Spirit, and he did "Midsummer's End" on Traveler's Tales.
I love that song.
He wrote the guitar parts. He wrote the keyboard parts. He did all that. And they're a little bit different sounding. If when you break down like the actual like what the guitars are doing, they're more riff based. Mm-hmm. A lot more gallops and just a different playing style than a lot of the other stuff.
Yeah.
But I think having multiple songwriters and them, when we write the song, we use the influences, and each writer uses all their influences, which are different. Like, our listening influences are different too. Like Sean listens to a whole bunch of different stuff that I don't listen to at all. But we all bring it together and like send it out into the form of power metal. And that's kind of like what we do, and it makes a a more dynamic album. I would hope for the listeners. So it's not just like one person writing every single song over and over, and it's just the same. You're listening to the same thing over and over and over and over again. So I think it's I would say like a lot of different influences, but the core four I think would be like Rhapsody, Dragonforce, and all those guys. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, and I definitely agree with you. Like I don't like boring music. I like it to have a lot of variety. I like it to, which is probably one reason why I like prog so much in particular. But it's also one reason. I have a lot of friends who give me a hard time about it. But one reason why I don't personally tend to gravitate toward traditional heavy metal quite as much, because I find that a lot of the riffing is repetitive, and it's basically pop music with kind of like a verse chorus bridge chorus kind of structure, and it bores me. Like I like things to have more sections, a lot more technicality, and then there's a sudden stop and a dynamic drop, and suddenly you're doing something quiet and kind of noodly or like flowery, and then you're back into like melting your face off again, and so symphonic power metal is an area that is a genre I really, really like. Like, obviously I'm wearing a Twilight Force shirt today. I love Twilight Force. Fellowship is a newer band that I think is absolutely brilliant. They played Mad with Power a couple of years ago, and the only time they've been in North America, and they were fabulous. So I think there's a lot of good bands in the genre, and I know it's one that I really enjoy. If I'm being transparent, I wasn't super familiar with you guys until somewhat recently, and I've been eating your material up. I've really been enjoying it quite a bit. So it's been fun to discover you guys and kind of say, oh, here's another symphonic power metal band that's like really doing the orchestration and cinematic aspects really well, and they're also based in the U.S. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, that always throws people for a loop. Everyone's like a lot of the foreign reviews always mention that it's like the symphonic band, but they're from the U.S. Like, how is this possible? It's just like, I don't know. We just like the music. Like, we just write the music.
What's stopping us?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
But we kind of used that to our advantage too, and we kind of like hammed it up in the early years. Like, we would use because we knew we were playing so when we were like more of like doing like our local scene on Long Island and like New York, like early, like we're still in like high school, like early college years and stuff, and we're doing like bar shows and stuff, and here comes a bunch of stupid kids, and we're playing like this show at like like Gus's bar or whatever, and we're playing like Dragonforce songs, and it's like people like, what are these kids like, what the hell is this? But we would use like John and I, my brother and I, we would use like the German versions of our names just to ham it up with like, it was like, oh yeah, like we're playing the real European, it was more like we're really European, we're the European power metal guys, not that like not the American stuff, but
Yeah.
you know, and it kind of it worked in a way because like people were like, what's what's going on?
Yeah.
It, like locally anyway. Then once we started getting out there, you know, we were just like, it is what it is, you know. We just this is what we write, you know, and we don't think it's just that's always what it is. I can't picture writing like another type of power metal, you know. It's
Right.
not like I don't know. It just always comes out, and I try like let me try making something more like you know like I don't know like Camelot or like Iced Earth or something. I can't. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, we always get that like that surprise from people of wow, you guys are from America, like what, like how is it possible? I don't know how it's possible. It just is.
It's like it's where we were born. It's where we live.
Yes, I don't know. We were on this side of the imaginary line. I don't know. We're here, so you know. But it definitely works to our advantage in some ways because it's like for the really hardcore power metal fan, like the person we want as a fan, you know, it intrigues them. Not so much in America unless they're like a really hardcore power metal fan, but all power metal fans like around the like they're always intrigued that we're writing like a European style, and we're from America. Especially when we played at Epic Fest last year, there were a lot of people saying it. Like when we were in Denmark playing, it was like, oh, we can't. When we found out about you, we couldn't believe you were from America. We couldn't. Oh, this is great that this style is you know migrating over. And I don't know. I think it's cool. We're kind of like, I mean, what we are. We're on our own little island, just writing European power metal music and just doing what we want. So,
well, cool. Well, you we mentioned before, you've got a couple EPs and full lengths under your belt over the course of 15 or so years. I want to actually kind of jump to Traveler's Tales, your most recent one, and first maybe let's start with, can you kind of walk through the journey of how you got to Traveler's Tales and kind of your approach to writing Traveler's Tales?
I don't know. Well, it was the weird, because it was like during COVID when we released it, when we were writing it and working on it. But we had released the first album, and right after we released the first album, we immediately started writing, because we went from 2014 to 2019, and we didn't have anything released. We were just working and writing on the first album. So I think we had those songs. We had the Fiery Seas and Icy Winds, which we released on our 2012 demo. Gale's the Winner we had on the EP. So we had these songs for a long time. So I think mentally and just working on them for so long, we were done with them. So we immediately went into writing Traveler's Tales. But that was presented the pandemic when we were like, the pandemic happened. We couldn't get together to work on stuff anymore. We couldn't rehearse anymore. We couldn't, so it kind of changed the trajectory of like how we're operating, what we're going to do. We actually had a Japan tour we were working on securing, and that didn't go through. Because the whole world was just hectic at the time, so it was just it changed a lot of things that we were working on and everything. But we came out. I think we started writing it, and the approach it was kind of whatever works at the time to get the album done, and then. Funny enough, it kind of prepped us for what was to come, because during that time, my brother John, he moved away, so he moved to Virginia. We got Zach, our drummer, he lives in New Hampshire, and then Ryan wound up getting married, and he had his first kid with his wife. So all these things have happened where now it's like, okay, we got to refocus how we're writing, and even for stuff in the future. So it kind of carried over. Having that lockdown and just doing virtual everything, it kind of prepped us for the the stages of life for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, I think John moving, he was sort of our engineer, so him moving kind of like disrupted our whole workflow. So Matt and I basically had to learn how to like use
use the DAW and the computer,
and try to like get used to doing that, and it was a lot of just provided a lot of challenges which were not ending. And if I remember correctly, I remember Traveler's Tales being like an idea for a while. Like we had the name. I think John came up with the name. Someone came up with the name.
Yeah, John and I came up with the name, and we use Gary Tonge to do our artwork. Like the two albums. I think we like the way we kind of just fell into it is like for like the albums we want to use Gary because like his like we're so happy with the art on both of the albums. They're just so like eye catching and like striking where it's like whoa like what the heck's that, and like you want to like see what it is. But it's beautiful because he digitally hand paints everything, and he so it's like real, there's a lot of work put into the art, and we appreciate it, and it's beautiful. So we do that for like the albums, and then like the EPs we've been using different smaller artists that don't really maybe not really do like album art for a living, but they're really good artists, and they we ask them like, hey, you want to just to get cross exposure, even if only like 15 people like see our art, that's 15 people that sees that person's art, and that's a win in my opinion. So but yeah, I think it was like we had the idea for a while, and like I said, like the songs, we started writing it, and then it was kind of when John moved, it was like a race to the finish because like the studio needed it, the label in Japan had like a deadline that they wanted to release the thing, we had to record, get everything done, and when one person is the sole person recording everything for our album, working on it. Yeah. He knows where all the files are. He knows what, it was just like, okay, like it kind of delayed us even more. So, but we got through it. Worked it.
Here we are.
The album came out. So, yeah, it was fun. But, it was just that was hectic. It was like the whole time period seems like a blur.
Yeah.
Just like it was just like,
for everyone.
It was just
really,
it was crazy.
Yeah. So thematically, lyrically, thinking about Traveler's Tales, like I don't believe it's actually a concept album, but it does feel like a series of adventures or quests, maybe so to speak. Kind of like almost like if I was playing video games and I'm like going into some world, and here I am, like I'm going on this or I'm going on that, and again, that maybe that's not exactly what the intent was or exactly how you envisioned it. But what I am curious about is, what was your approach to the kind of the lyrical and thematic approach for this album, and kind of how did you go about doing that or writing that out as you were composing the music?
This is why I wish John was here.
Yeah,
because John, this is all John. The bass. So he has a really good. I guess a good eye for like thematic detail and stuff like that. So he basically we had the same premise of it's like also Legends of Human Spirit, our first album's kind of like a loose. It's not really like a concept album, but we kind of loosely did a concept. John and I, we don't really like concept albums. We do, but
you don't like the concept of concept albums.
Yeah, because, exactly. It's like it's like a show about nothing, and so we don't like the concept traditional concept albums because a lot of times it's very hard to follow what the concept actually is within the songs, and you always have to wind up reading like what like the story and like the book that comes with it. You don't really know what's going on. You're listening to a song and then like a narrator comes on to like move the story of what the concept is. So we never really found a way that we would like to do it creatively, where that it makes, you know, like that we would be comfortable with, that it would be good. Like it always, John and I, we've tried to write concept albums or do something like a traditional, like a story, but like it always just kind of comes across as forced, and then it kind of boxes us into like lyrical content of like making the story move, and then we, you know, it's not our thing. So with Legends of Human Spirit, it was like, well, we have all these songs, and they all have to kind of do with like, you know, like these like trials or anything like that, or like the, you know, like or like they're like stories or something. So it was always, oh, why, you know, the concept is it's an amalgamation of legends about the human spirit and prevailing and going on, and, you know, like spiritualism and oh, like, you know, like what's out there in the universe and stuff. Traveler's Tales is pretty much the same thing. It's just it's a bunch of tales about going on a journey, and John and I, we paced the album out to kind of make it. It starts off with the lyrical content's more deep, more heavy, more about loss and depression and stuff, and then it ends with like decisive battle. Then it goes into premonition and the oracle, and then it's like, oh, it's like the Wizard of Oz when it turns into color. Everyone's, oh wow, we're in Munchkin Village now, and you know, and then it's more fantastic at the end, like you're more, you know, speed metal, traditional happy power metal. Yeah. And it reflects on the album art too, on the full album art that Gary did for us. If you open up the album booklet, it's the front and the back is one image. So it on the if you're looking at it, would be your left side is the dark forest, and you're in the woods, and it's all hectic and it's all, you know, evil, and then it's like what the cover is. It's the big green open valley, and it's like an adventure waits ahead. Like after you get out of the darkness in your life, you know, and you go and you can, you know, scale mountains and ride on a
steed. Trusty steed.
Well, what if we had like a deer?
That's right. Yeah.
It's like an elk. Ride. Yeah. But yeah, that was the theme we came up with, and you know, I think we had more fun like creating, like trying to do mental gymnastics to create a concept based on that than actually writing a story, singing about it and all that. Not that, you know, and again, not that concept albums are bad. You know, there's great concept albums. It's just we can't. I don't think
they don't work for us.
They don't work. Yeah, I you know, it always comes off as a forced thing, and then, you know, at the end of the day, we're just going to be writing another Lord of the Rings Temu edition, and you know, how many high fantasy power metal concept albums, you know, can people stomach?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. Forced anyway. People like Marius Danielson does it great. Peter Danielson does it great. There's a lot of guys like you know me, Marius Danielson's Valley Doom, Rhapsody of Fire does it great. Hell, even Stradivarius does it great. ShadowStrike, I don't know. We haven't figured out a way to do it, but we're trying though. Yeah, keep your eyes peeled. Concept.
Well, you touched on it a little bit as you were walking through kind of the progression of the album itself, but there's obviously lots of different kind of feels throughout the album. You've got the kind of like, as you mentioned, kind of especially at the end, like the speedier power metal. You've got almost, you know, Disney-like rock opera kind of symphonic metal, and then you've got kind of more the mix of symphonic and power metal. You kind of like do a little bit of everything there. So, you know, how did you kind of come to that approach, and maybe more specifically, when did you choose, or how did you know to choose a certain like subgenre, so to speak, or a certain kind of feel as the album flowed?
I don't even know. I think it was I think one of the last, you know, and it's actually something that we've talked about for future releases, or at least John and I have talked about, where I think the one thing we really want to work on is like the pacing of our albums and how we do it, because we really how it works is like we have the songs, and then we kind of, you know, we listen to them, we kind of try and what would be a good track listing here for this album. That's usually one of the last things that we do. Of course, like writing it, you know, we kind of early on, when we have like the pre-production and the demos of the songs, you can kind of already tell, like, okay, that's going to be a single, that's the other single, that's going to be a single, you know, like those are the highlight songs. That's definitely the closer, you know.
Yeah.
You can kind of, and then the rest you kind of piece in, but you have to, do it in a way where it's not like 5 of the same song in the same key after one after another,
right?
Because then and then the rest of the song, it just seems like they just threw them in there just to have an ending. So I think, and basically what we do is it's the same thing when we pick out set lists. It's just we all go, this is what I think it should be, this is what I think it should be, this is what I think it should be. We sit on it for a bunch of times, no one says anything, and then John goes, okay, how about this? And we go, okay, that's great. Or this is what it is, and people go, okay, Matt, or that's usually what winds up happening. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't really, like, stuff like that, like, as long as it works, like, it doesn't really, we don't harp on stuff like that.
Yeah.
It just has to flow nice. So as long as it has a nice flow, I think, if I had to, go back in time, I think maybe taking a song off of Traveler's Tales or kind of maybe moving a song or two around maybe would have helped the pacing for some listeners, but I it wouldn't have really changed all that much about it. I don't think. It's just trying to. We're being a little more mindful, I guess, in future the stuff we're working on about like, do we have any, okay, every song is in 4/4 time. Do we have any like mid, do we have anything in like 6/8, or do we have anything, any anything to kind of, give some variety here? Where would that song be, good? Oh, that one's good in the middle, so. Yeah. And it kind of works because we do have a diverse, writing style. We do, we have like just the straightforward, like a Dragonforce style ones, and you get some more symphonic ones. There's a little more proggy ones in there. Then it goes into like a Broadway kind of thing, and then it goes into like a Disney song, and then Mickey Mouse is singing and doing a guitar solo, and then people pants flying by, and then it goes back to Dragonforce again. And so it's like but like we can pick and choose. Like, oh, okay, that so like I want an album to do this. I want to take people on a like a ride, not just like okay, it's like this all the time, or it's like like mid tempo the whole time. It has to be fun for people.
Yeah, breathe. And I also think we do kind of tend to think about it like qualitative. That's definitely some of the vibe that I get when we're talking and writing and stuff. And like, so John will be like, "Oh, I figured we don't really have a good like orchestral song, so I've been working on one." It's sort of like we do kind of like try to check boxes. I don't think we like to. It's hard not to like. It's easy to just write your song that you write all the time. Like I write songs a specific way, yada yada. So I think like John makes a conscious effort. I think Matt too makes a conscious effort.
Yeah, Ryan.
I think Ryan's more like me. He's like got a very specific kind of sound.
Yeah, no, I think John's the most mindful that way. I kind of like the way I write. It's just however I'm feeling, but like I kind of pull. I think more so than Ryan. I think I pull more from like there's more dichotomy in the influences that I pull from. Mm-hmm. Whereas Ryan, he goes like, okay, like. It was classic. Like, it was just the first song he wrote for us was "Fly with Me" when he joined. We played what we played in Florida with him, the Land Rock and Metal Fest, and then he wanted to join right after that. And then he's like, "Oh, I wrote the song," and he like did it like in a week or two. He was like, "Here, I wrote the song for you guys," and he was like, he's like, "This is what I would figure like you guys would like the sound of the band, but I used my influences for." So he just has his like. His set influences, and he just pulls from them, and it's usually like it's just he writes bangers. It's just like riffs and stuff all the time. So it's always fun recording his songs. It's great doing the guitar parts for it. Yeah. But I think John's more mindful of it. I think he kind of sees
Speak of the devil.
There he is. He gets to talk about the Oracle.
John. And this is where we say. A new challenger enters the arena.
Hey, sorry I'm so late.
No worries. Well,
You-
since you made the grand entrance as you did, I'm going to let you introduce yourself really quickly, and then we're going to put you right on the spot.
Okay, awesome. Perfect. So quick introduction. I'm John Crease, bass player for ShadowStrike. Matt is my brother. Sean and Ryan and Yanni and Zach are all very good friends. And we've been really just enjoying doing what we're doing. Happy to be here.
Cool. Thank you for jumping in. We were just having a pretty fun discussion where the first thing that was said was, "Man, I wish John was here." We're talking about kind of the thematic approach, thematic and lyrical approach to Traveler's Tales, but then also kind of the flow approach. So, there's lots of different, types of almost like subgenres on the album, everything from like really speedy power metal to more kind of that balance of symphonic and power metal to the almost Disney-esque rock opera style kind of symphonic power metal. And so I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on kind of the approach to, and we're talking about Traveler's Tales maybe more specifically, but kind of the collection of journeys kind of theme or feel that that it has lyrically, as well as kind of how did you kind of approach the album flow?
Sure. So, this was, so I guess to kick that part off, I think I want to quickly just address first album, Legends of Human Spirit, where we're coming up with the concept for it, and we're like, hey, let's do kind of all these little individual stories, all kind of about a general topic. Album's called Legends of Human Spirit, so everything there is kind of about human spirit, so there's songs about unity and power and all that kind of stuff. So then when we were looking to do Traveler's Tales, it was kind of a similar scenario where we really liked the freedom that we had in writing that way, where, rather than having, all of the songs connect as different part of the same exact story, they can all kind of be connected through similar theme. So that's where we said, let's do something that's more about adventure, which is also great for the power metal genre, adventures and quests and all that stuff. So there's really two or three different types of songs, I guess, on the album, where first is you have a couple of songs that are just pure fantasy, right? Where it's just, that's the stuff that most people associate with power metal, where it's just kind of a fantasy driven song. Something like the Oracle, Woodland Nights is like that. The Sonneteer is like that. Decisive Battle is like that. And then you have other songs where it's more about personal journey or metaphorical type of journey. Things about, traveling through life, that type of thing. So songs like Winds of Change, Don't Turn Back, those types of songs. So those are a little bit more interpersonal rather than this large fantasy epic type of song. And then certain songs you can interpret in two different kinds of ways. Decisive Battle is kind of like that. If you listen to the lyrics and think about it, it's okay, this could be just a cool song about a battle, if you like that sort of thing, or it can also be something more about making a big decision in your life, doing something like that. So it's kind of it's a cute kind of naming for the song. So then also, we kind of had these two different parts of the album, which is also reflected in the album art. If you see the album art for the full thing, you can usually see it as the banner on our social media, things like that. The left side, it's sort of this dark forest. And then as you go over to the right, it opens up and it's this beautiful green landscape, like a castle in the back, all of that stuff. And if you listen to the full album, the first half of it, it's a little bit darker in sound. And that's also where you get a little bit more of the songs that are about bad times passing, move on, time for something to change, walking through life, all of that stuff. And then when you get to Premonitions and the Oracle, it kind of changes, and those songs, they're a little bit more upbeat, they're a little bit brighter sounding, and there's a little bit more of the fantasy narrative in there. So also the album kind of changes like a journey when you listen to it the full way through. So yeah, that's kind of the overview of it, where we had a few of those interconnecting themes about, you know, a journey or an adventure, and we managed to kind of package it into individual stories rather than connecting it all with like one big storyline.
John, you're going to be really happy to know I did you really proud, because you pretty much just verbatim said what I just said before you came on.
So there you go. There's confirmation.
So, Dave, you could choose which explanation you like better, and you can use that if you want.
Yeah. So we're telling the truth. We're not just making things up. We thought about this stuff.
I'm not pulling this out of a hat. It's not coming out of a Cracker Jack box. This is real stuff. This is serious.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing I did like, though, is yes, definitely plenty of good overlap, across the two kind of narratives that each of you gave. But it was cool hearing each of your perspectives, and obviously you were coming from different places, and so that was kind of cool to hear too.
Mm-hmm. All right, awesome. So we didn't just completely copy each other and what we're saying and offer a little.
No, it was great. No, like I said, I definitely appreciate that, and I'm glad it was fun hearing your perspective. So thank you for sharing that.
Awesome.
Well, one thing I do want to dive into, and I know that Matt said that it would be important for you to be here for this one. It's going to be a two-part question. One is, one of my favorite songs off of Traveler's Tales is actually The Oracle. It's just a lot of just cool stuff going on. It's got so multi-layered as you go throughout the song. But there's also the kind of the guest vocalist on there, and I don't actually know how to say her last name. I'm gonna guess Peslis, but I don't know if that's actually right or not. But Katie Peslis, you worked with on the album, and I'd like to know first, like, what inspired you to work with her specifically, and then secondly, when you think about The Oracle, kind of how did you approach that song specifically, incorporating her? Kind of what was the thought process there?
Sure. So, to answer your first question, I have to answer the second question first, actually. So, that was, like I was saying before, that was one of the songs where it was, we want to tell a story with it. It's like a fantasy story for that one, right? It's about the Oracle. If you think of an oracle in any story, someone who divines the future, tells you what you're going to do. There's a lot of things in the lyrics about, what people will become, what you're going to do, and it's supposed to be like people seeking out this oracle to tell them of the future, and that's kind of the basis for that story. It was written sort of with that bright, charming Disney element to it that works. You hear so much music now where it's so much metal now that like incorporates that sound, so it works so well. And that was kind of our like, hey, like let's do this. A lot of orchestra and beauty in the music. So when we were making the lyrics and doing the melodies, all of that stuff, it was like, hey, let's have kind of multiple people sing this. And as we were doing it, it was like, is it all just going to be Matt singing it? Do we want other vocalists, one other vocalist, two other vocalists? And then we kind of landed on like, okay, let's do two. It'll be Matt and then one other person. And the reason why we went with her was because we were looking around.
It was because when you showed me, when you did when we were demoing the Oracle, like the vocals, and after like the pre-pro was done on it, so I was doing the vocal demos on it. We were talking, and it was like, I'm like, John, this, like, people keep saying we sound like we're Disney metal, so let's really, if they want Disney metal, let's really give some people Disney metal. So I went on YouTube, and I'm like, we gotta find a singer, and I just searched Disney cover songs, and her video came up first on YouTube, and it was her singing as Belle from Beauty and the Beast, like the whole intro overture for it was Belle's song in Beauty and the Beast. And I was like, let's just send her an email and see if she wants to sing on the. We sent her the email. And we said, like, do you want to sing on our, ShadowStrike, we're writing the song, would you like to do guest vocals on it? But there's one caveat, you have to sing it like Belle on Beauty and the Beast. She's like, I always wanted to sing on a metal album, this is great, and we hit it off, and it worked out great. And she sent the vocals over, and then I went to go sing my part, because the demo, it was just me singing the different parts. So when I went to go track the final ones, and we had her voice in it, and then it was, I remember, like right before, because I was recording it with Ryan at his place, and I texted John. I'm like, John, do you want me to sing this stuff like metal, or do you want me to like have fun, like you go like Aladdin, Disney Prince? And he's like, have fun, he's like, hand it up, be sappy with them. All right. So that's why my voice is kind of, and I do like the backing vocals is like, there's so many, like you said, there's so many different layers in there. If you took out the backing vocals, I'm doing like old men voices, I'm doing women voices, I'm doing like, it's like, I did it like, okay, if you're watching like, Beauty and the Beast on Broadway, like they have all the villagers and stuff like that singing and everything. So I was like, let's just do it. Let's go for broke. Disney makes money. Hopefully this,
It was also
yachts don't buy themselves.
it was also like when we were in the middle of recording the Oracle, where we kind of realized like, hey, this is really cool. We need to do more with this. So we were almost done with recording it when I did the writing for Premonitions that came before it. It's like, this needs a lead in or something. It can't just be like a one-off song. So it was kind of like everything was almost done by the time that song was written. And I remember we needed like scratch vocals. Yeah, we needed like scratch vocals to give to Katie for like what to sing. And where I was at the time, I didn't have a setup or anything. I just had like my laptop with like GarageBand on it. So I just like put the MP3 of the of the music in, and like I was singing for like, okay, like it should be this. It sounds bad, but here, like use this for like what we should be doing. So we just kind of used that to give to her as a reference, and it came out really great. And that was the really cool thing too, was she hadn't done metal before. So it was nice kind of having, I think, the approach from someone who doesn't sing metal specifically. It was, like Matt said, like he looked up like Disney cover, Beauty and the Beast cover. It's like, okay, this is what she does. Like, that's what we want. We don't want someone like doing like a metal cover of the song. We want someone just singing like a Disney princess in the music.
No, that's cool. Well, it works really well too, and that the feel you described is exactly how it comes across. I remember the first time listening to Traveler's Tales, and I'm getting to those two songs, and I'm like, wait a minute, what just happened? Like, am I at Disney World right now, or like what's going on?
Yeah, well, everyone said, because like I think a lot of it came from some of the songs on Legends of Human Spirit, like Heart Fearing Journey, like the opening song is very, like a lot of people was like, oh, I think that's when people started comparing us to like the, like Dragonforce and Twilight Force, because of we added the orchestra element, and it's that very, they say like, it's like, oh, it's Disney metal. You hear that a lot with like the more like, if you take Rhapsody and make it major, that turns it into Disney metal. Like that huge symphonic sound. But if you make it major and it's not like singing about like an orc beheading somebody, then it's like, oh, it's more happy, it's more good, it's Disney. And I think it was just that, it was just fun doing. It was just like, let's really just make a Disney metal song. And I think, I don't know, John, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think, moving forward, that definitely, that sound is something I think I would like to explore more. I think when we did it, it's almost like it's really good, but I feel like it's almost like a prototype of like what we could do in the future for it. And we have a lot. We've already talked about a lot of different ideas on what we could have done differently and what we could have improved on with it and what we would like to do with that style, because it just works. It's cool. It's like Broadway metal. I can't explain it. It's just it was a cool. When John wrote, I was like, we got to do it. We even went down like the ending of it changed a couple of times, and we were like, how did John and I, when we were doing the orchestra, it's like how did these Disney duets always end, and you listen to them, and there's always, it's every movie has it where there's a duet and it builds right at the end, last chorus, and then it builds up and then it just stops, and there's that little pause, and then it's the last line of the chorus when they sing, and then they go off and there's the moon, and then they go off and walk down and then it goes to the next Disney movie. So we were like, we got to do it, and we did it. The big build up, and then it just cuts, and then the thing. So we tried to really make it an actual if this was in a Disney movie, what would this what would this be? And I think it translated pretty well in the terms of power metal, and that's really what we try to do is all of our influences that we have, no matter, even if it's not a power metal band, what can we do to add this into into the context of power metal, Where Sleeping Gods Await on Legends of Human Spirit, it's like a wind ensemble piece basically. If you take the guitars and everything out and you just listen to the orchestra, it's a wind ensemble. And we got the saxophone solo on there. We got and so we take all these different things from our live, musical influences from our lives, and we're like, here you go. Yeah, that could be power metal, and that's why power metal is great. Nothing is too ridiculous. You can have a kazoo solo on a power metal song, and it's acceptable. It's power metal. It's great. There's nothing is too over the top because it's power metal. It's so the creative limit. There's no limits to the creativity. Yeah. It's great. It's great for nerds like us because we could just you could do anything with it. You could sing about a dragon riding a dinosaur on top of a transformer on a time machine DeLorean, and it's oh wow, yeah, that's a great power metal. Nothing is out of the realm of ridiculousness for power metal. It's especially now, all the bands. You got the dwarf metal band, you got Windrose, you got all these bands just doing these things, and it's welcome to the insanity. So you want Disney? We'll give you Disney. You got elves, dwarves, and Mickey Mouse. That's it.
No, I think you could definitely get away with a lot more in power metal. There's no question about it. And if you think about ridiculousness, John, you missed earlier. I'm wearing a Twilight Force shirt. I'm a big Twilight Force fan. There's it's definitely Disney metal to a T, all about dragons, about every kind of dragon you could think of, etc. But then you've got a band like Glory Hammer, which is also just insanely ridiculous. Really cool stories. They have this whole lore, and it can be hard to follow sometimes because this album's going to be a sequel to this one, and then we're going to jump ahead and do something else. But again, lyrically, it's just ridiculous stuff. But it's so much fun. Or a band like Victorious, I don't know if you know them or not, from Germany. They're I call them dinosaur metal. Now, if you haven't listened to them, you should. It's literally
Robo dinosaurs and
it's insane.
It's completely acceptable though. It's
yes, exactly.
You go to a show and people have giant blow-up laser guns and dinosaurs, and they're all throwing them around the crowd, and there's the light show and everything, and it's just a big party of nerdom and geekhood, and it's like Comic-Con in concert form basically. And it's just there's nothing is out of the realm of possibilities with power metal. Yeah, you could have a band. There could be a violin player, an accordion player. There could be a spoon player on stage. There could be a guy juggling out, and it's just oh, well, this is a power metal show. It's great. It's like a P.T. Barnum circus of a music genre, and it's fun. And then you could have a band like Stradivarius where there's no, it's just they're just up there playing, and it's still the same genre of music, and it's great. Or like Blind Guardian, they're not dressing up.
A song about the environment. It's okay, everything becomes serious all of a sudden. But that's what I think. We like kind of all of these bands, so that's why I think we end up with a spread of songs and themes on our albums, where we'll have like I mean, even like the Fables and Folklore EP is a good example of that, where it's just like a few songs, and like one it's just like epic power metal song. We have another song where it's like, oh, let's do like a Beowulf story. It's like kind of cool and epic, but it's like normal. And then we have like a space pirate song, which is like, okay, it's space pirates. So it's you could do a little bit of everything. And I think that's also, it's one of the ways that we like to write, to also keep things as fresh as possible too, because thematically you can kind of move around and, you know, like you said, like all of a sudden it's like, what happened? Like I feel like I'm at Disney World all of a sudden. You know, you're listening to just like an engaging metal album, and then everything gets majestic and and happy. So yeah, definitely going back to what we were saying about the Oracle. definitely a lot of cool themes and a lot of cool moments when we were writing that. And yeah, moving forward, I think definitely we're going to be thinking of how to write more stuff like that, expand on those ideas. And we also suffer from the same thing that every songwriter or any kind of artist suffers from, which is after you make something, you think of a million things you could have done better on the thing that you just made. So we've got that going on too.
Well, cool. Well, just got a couple more questions for you guys. As I mentioned at the very beginning of the interview, you know, and as you know, the main impetus for this interview is Grillfest and your guys' appearance there. So let's just dive into that for a second. I'd love to, you know, have a better understanding of how did the Grillfest appearance come into being for you guys, and what are you most excited about Grillfest?
Well, first off, definitely the food. definitely the grilled food. No, so I've known John for quite a while. I'd say like maybe since like 2013, 2012, 2014, so somewhere around there. And we met, and I know Alicia too, and we were on this group on Facebook called US Power Metal Connection, and that's where we met. I just stayed in touch with John over the years, and funny enough, Judicator last year was playing at Epic Fest in Denmark when we were playing, and it was both of the band's first times in Europe, so we both got to share our debut show in Europe together. And we were talking, and he's like, yeah, I'm thinking about, he mentioned it to me, I'm thinking about bringing back my festival, Grillfest and stuff, and he asked me last year for the first edition. He was thinking of inviting us to go that year, and I think we were just like running off the honeymoon endorphins, and wow, I can't believe we just played in Europe, and we were like, hey, let's keep going, we're gonna go, but like he didn't have the budget for it, or he couldn't work it out, or it was just maybe he was like, oh, like let's wait a minute, let's see how well this one does before I start bringing people, halfway across the country to play it. So the first one he did, it was a success, and then he reached out to me and said, hey, do you guys want to play this year? For this year's one, and I was like, yeah, sure. It sounds like a fun thing, and we're just getting, it's just keeping the momentum going, playing festivals. I mean, we're pretty much a festival band at this point. I don't think we haven't had a tour yet, so we're hitting up all the festivals we can, and it sounds like an awesome thing. Like why wouldn't we want to play in a state we never played in before to a bunch of people that that could be that could really enjoy the music. It's an outdoor fest, street fair, grilled meats, and medieval combat sports. That doesn't sound like a perfect power metal experience. I don't know. John. He's a magician. He just like pulled it out of nowhere. It's just like, here you go. He was like, it's like you were running this before. He's like, yeah. Why'd you stop? You should. That's the only thing. I gotta talk to John about that. I think like why did he stop doing it? But it's it was just just I've known John, and he asked, and we want to do it. So that's pretty much how we got involved. But I still think the thing I'm looking forward to the most, besides the grilled meats, definitely I think for me is just actually getting to. It's just the furthest west we've ever played. Utah, I would say. So it's like it's not technically the West Coast, but to us it's the West Coast. So it's like we're finally able to go and play out there. I know there's a lot of people out that way that wanna see us, and maybe not a lot of people, maybe like 2, but there's it's a good, it's just going to be fun going to a new area, and that's why I like doing this too. Is we get to we do a festival in another state, another country. We get to have a little taste of the culture, the area, get to see what's going on, and meet some new people, make some new friends, meet some new fans, and I think that's what I'm looking forward to the most, is just experiencing the whole thing, getting to see John, and everybody else, and it's just it's gonna be a fun time. It's just it's like I said, medieval combat sports, grilled meats. Like, how can you not, like, all of our, because are you gonna be there?
I unfortunately am not going to be able to be there, which I'm actually I've given John a hard time about, because I'm actually attending a different festival that I've had tickets for a very long time. But I talked to John. I was like, what, I'm still going to help you, still going to help support this, because I'm a big believer in what he's doing, and if anything, I've been excited to see the U.S. and really, let's just say North America, because we're seeing it in Canada as well. The North American kind of power prog metal scene grow, and we're starting to see more of these small fests. So obviously we're talking about Grillfest here. I mentioned earlier about Mad with Power. You've got the Southwest Power Fest that's out in, I think, in El Paso. It's in late September. You got Prog Storm, another festival that I'm supporting. That's in Montreal in August. There's been a really cool kind of uprising and growth of all these new festivals, and I want to do with My Metal Today, I want to do whatever I can to support these festivals, because I love going to Europe. I love going to Europe and seeing shows. It's a completely different experience going to a festival in Europe, going to see tours in Europe, and obviously there are plenty of bands that will maybe never get the chance to play in North America because it's so expensive to come, and we all know the visa situation is a disaster at the moment. But there's still plenty of super talented bands that are based right here in the United States and Canada, even Central America as well, and being able to support kind of our hemisphere, our side of the world, and be able to bring local people together so that they can actually do that I think is super, super important. And so I know I love what John is doing, and when we had I just reached out to him, we just started talking, and I was like, hey, I've been doing this kind of stuff. And then when the Judicator announcement was made at Mad with Power, it's kind of like the initial reveal that Alicia was coming back, I reached back out to him and said, all right, let's figure this out. I want to support Grillfest. And actually, I have the first interview that'll be coming out is actually an exclusive interview with Judicator, talking with John and Alicia. So
nice, very cool.
Yeah, I think also for me, that's kind of one of the things that I'm looking forward to the most also, is just being able to play at another one of these North American festivals that are supportive of power and prog metal, because especially for a band like us, for ShadowStrike, that's really been a huge way for us to kind of expand where we play and reach new people. Because when we first started out, the local scene, there is no other power metal band. It's you're the one in the 100-mile radius or whatever. Mm-hmm. So having those opportunities of being able to go to these festivals throughout the states, it's been a great experience for us. So I'm really happy that there's more of them to be had, and I think supporting them is definitely good for everybody. It's good for the fans. It's good for the bands.
And I think to kind of piggyback off like the what you said before about like the visa situation, I think I guess for lack of a better term, like the format of a festival for like these shows, especially in North America, I think the reason why they're more and more popping up is because it's a lot easier for like a band to get like I'm assuming to get a visa for like just a shorter period, just for like a festival date, and rather than like to get we're going to be here for a month and we're going to be doing all, and they have to get like state paperwork problem in certain states. I don't even know what a lot of the international bands have to do. But here in the States, it's like a nightmare. So having these like festivals where maybe it's like easier in certain countries or something for them to come in and get just to do one show, and it's definitely it helps. I think in a lot of ways bands that are here in America and Canada and Central America to perform these shows, because there's a fan base in North America for power metal, but where it's so scattered, so a lot of these bands, that the fans see as like really, really huge bands, like in the genre, they're not, they're not Iron Maiden, they're not Metallica, they can't, playing a tour in America for a month, and you're playing basically like almost a new city a day. They don't have infinite funds, they don't have money, and then since everyone's scattered out, there's not like, they're not selling out, a show every single night. A lot of these shows for these power metal bands, when they're coming over here, New York City, they're going to play, Chicago, they're going to play for people, Boston, they're going to play for people, like some city, but, when they're playing some of these other cities, they're playing for like, 15 people, 10 people, but, they do a festival, and these festivals it's like a watering hole for power metal fans. So like there's, instead of playing for like 50 people, you play one show, and they're here for like a couple of days. They get to come to America for a couple of days. They play one show, and there's like hundreds of people there.
Yeah.
And they get to play for a fuller crowd. So it's a little bit easier, I think, for some bands, especially in the States. Like it's very like in a situation like us. Like we could tour, but and we want to tour. We want to be able to do it, but realistically. It's not financially. It doesn't make sense for a lot of bands to do it, and it kind of hinders of the genre in a lot of ways because the continent is so spaced out, and the fans are you have like a lot of fans in certain pockets, but then in a lot of areas there's like hardcore fans, but not not enough to warrant really for a lot of these groups to be traveling and stuff. So I think having a lot more festival options is great. Because a lot of the music, what power metal band, very, very few are doing it full time. You have to assume,
right.
And especially in the American power metal bands, it's a very underground scene in America. So everyone's working a day job. So you could take 3 days off off of a job, go perform at the festival, come back and go get back to business. Or you can try and find a job that will accept you taking off for a month at a time to do a full month tour. But you got to keep doing it and hope that there's people there to keep the bus going.
It's definitely tough.
Yeah, it's a great thing that there's more. I didn't even know that there's all these in Canada popping up. The only one I knew of was Hyperspace Metal Fest in Vancouver, and I think
Joey. Yeah, I've gone to that one for the last 2 years, and great festival. I live in Seattle, so it's like I can drive up to Vancouver,
okay.
So it was really easy for me to get there. And unfortunately, it's on pause for the moment, and we'll see if it comes back. I personally hope it does, because we need smaller festivals like that are so supportive. And Joey's like, he's so great to work with. Bands love him. It's a smaller fest, of course, but it's a great festival, and we need to support more of that. So I guess my plea to the audience who's watching this is, support live music. But that's not just going to shows, just going to like tour shows either. It's like, hey, support these small festivals. If you like, what ends up being a little bit more niche in power and prog metal, particularly in North America, support these festivals that are coming up, like Grillfest. Grillfest is an up and coming festival, and did really well last year. John has really kind of put a lot more into it for this year, and I expect it'll just continue to grow over the years. And if you love metal and you love live music, and it's such a great marriage of the two, like live music and metal it's about as good as it gets, I think. And support the bands that are doing it, support the organizers that are putting their blood, sweat, and tears into putting these events on. It's a lot of work. I know a lot of the various festival organizers, and it's so much work.
I think the one, someone I'm very impressed with, and I when he started doing it was Ty doing Mad with Power, and just seeing it, because we played the third one, and it was during like the whole COVID thing, and he made it work, and he's a really good, Ty's a really smart businessman, and sell out after sell out after sell out after sell, and he knows how to work it and make it, and he made Magic Powers like great. I mean, it's like he's getting European bands now coming. So it's like before it was just the local bands. It's just like whoever. Then it was like, okay, maybe I'll get some guys. I can get like a band or two out of state. And then he did that for like a year or two, and then he's like, oh my god, I'm gonna get my first year band. And then he's getting bands from Japan coming in too, and it's just like seeing him from
shows it can work.
When he first started it just became this like behemoth of a festival for the genre in the States, and it's just cool watching these festivals. And I hope John does the same thing with Grillfest. I hope it turns into all of Salt Lake City shuts down for a day and just listens to power metal music. I hope he,
That would be awesome.
That would be great. It would be like the Olympics. They could use the arena in Salt Lake City that they did the Olympics in, what was it, 98 or 2000 or whatever. They could use that.
Brilliant idea.
Gotta patent that. That's a great idea. Hint, hint. Wink, wink. Nudge, nudge. John Young. Just saying.
So I think the takeaway from this is support Grillfest. Go to Grillfest. It's like I said, John's a great human being in general. He's done a really great job pulling together what I would consider to be a fairly unique fest. Like that's one thing that's kind of nice about it. You've got the music, you've got the food, you've got the live combat. I mean, it's such an interesting mix of different things. I think Alicia, when I was interviewing them, described it as 3 of her favorite things: meat, music, and violence. And so it's kind of an interesting mix, but it's all very metal. So
nothing like a side of angst with my prime rib. Chipotle barbecue.
Well, one final question. Grillfest. If I'm doing my calendar math correctly, and calendar math is always hard, but if I'm doing it correctly, I believe Grillfest almost to the day marked the 3-year anniversary of Traveler's Tales.
You're right about that. Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm always interested. 3 years since the last album. Is there any new music on the horizon? What can you share about your kind of like the writing process and what's next?
Yeah, we have a couple of things in coming down the pike. So we announced, I guess it was when we announced the release date for Traveler's Tales back in 2023, we had announced that we were going to be working on, because it was coming up to the 10-year anniversary of our EP Infinite Power, and Infinite Power was supposed to be our first album, and when we were recording it, we were like, our first album should really be done in a proper studio. We recorded it on a MacBook Pro in my living room using the TV as the monitor, and we used John's Hartkey bass amp as the studio monitor, and we were like tracking stuff like that. It was just like it was like jank as you can get with the whole thing. And we were like, let's just call this an EP. But a lot of people consider Infinite Power like our first album. We call it an EP. It's like a very extended play. We went very literal with extended play on it, but it just wasn't. We were just like, it's kind of like a demo, like an EP. It wasn't, the quality. We were young, and we kind of like we did what we did. But for whatever reason, people went like it got us like this like really like hardcore fan base when we released it. Like it was like this very niche crowd. I remember we got content, and I think that's pretty much how we got like a start in like Japan with it. I remember we got contacted by a couple of independent record stores in Japan, and they were like, "Can we buy 50 of your EPs?" And I remember like John and I we're like putting them in the box, and we're like making CDs with like the burned CDR CDs, and we're like putting them in the thing. We're like, "Oh wow, this is cool," and we're like. it was just like, why do they want, why do these record stores want this? Like, why, it was just like, it's just like a demo album pretty much. So people keep talking about it, and people keep uploading the songs on like YouTube and stuff like all these years later. And you know, I think, you know, Gale's a Winner was on that, and then we put it on the album. So we were like, let's redo the EP, because we did that when, you know, John was still in diapers when we recorded it. John didn't have chest hair yet, and I just learned how to speak. So, you know, we're older now, we're more seasoned, we're definitely more in our writing groove and everything. So we're gonna do, like, you know, it's an Infinite Power reimagined, we announced, and we wanted it to come out in 2024, like the true 10-year anniversary, but life gets in the way, delays things as always. So we're coming to the you know, the end of that. So that is on the pike, and then also the third full length album we're working on too. So we have a couple of songs that we're writing now, and it's just the process of writing and demoing and then doing the final recordings. There's no hard date for it yet, but we are working on new stuff, because I think it's about time, you know.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, there's talk too of also releasing just one-off singles, not singles that are, you know, connected to an album at all, but, you know, just, you know, while we have time, you know, if we're writing a song, maybe we write a track that, you know, is like a really, really solid power metal track, but look, we don't really, it doesn't fit with, you know, what we're doing with the album, but like, let's just release it as a single. Why not? You know, like, just so people can hear it. Why shelve it? Why, you know, let it die if it's a really good song, you know? So it's just trying to find the new groove with everyone's lives, you know, evolving and changing, and, you know, like John got married, you know, last year, and Ryan had a kid last year, and then John moved, and then, you know, so it's just trying to find that new rhythm and what we, you know, how we can maximize and be more efficient with our output and be more consistent with releases. So, you know, it's a work in progress. Works in progress.
Yes.
To put a bow on it, I think if it seems like things have been a little bit quiet from ShadowStrike, it's because we have a lot of different projects in the works, which we're hoping to announce sooner rather than later. So there should be some really cool stuff coming down the pike. Yeah, so stay tuned there for sure.
Stay tuned. Hopefully maybe around when we go to Japan. But we'll see. There's a lot of little fun tidbits on the way. But we're hard at work. Like Ryan and I have been demoing stuff here and there. But it's just finding the time to really, you know, hone in and make sure it's not just like slapped together. And I think, you know, we're all, I guess, like OCD, so we're in perfection. The perfectionist thing kind of kicks in at times, so it kind of stalls things, and then, you know, you get writer's block, and then the roof leaks in the house, and the oil burner goes, and it's like, you gotta focus on this now, and then, you know, so it's all, you know, life kicks in, and then you gotta, you know, divert attention to it. But yeah, I think everyone will be happy to know that we're not dead, despite our social medias being a barren wasteland at the moment. But we are alive. The wellness check worked.
Yeah.
Dave checked on us, everybody.
Life, yeah.
You got a pulse. There's a pulse here, everybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, everyone stay tuned and hold on to your butts.
Awesome. Well, you know, any final thoughts from the three of you before we sign off here?
Go ahead, John.
I was just going to say, really thankful to be on here, and I'm really sorry that I was so late to signing on.
Well, thank you for joining. We really appreciate you did join.
Yeah. Us too, yeah. But yeah, no, I just want to say the same thing. Thank you, David, for having us. This was super cool, and you know, it's not every day we get to do something like this, so, you know, very grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Thanks to John for making the connection, and setting us up with the interview. Yeah, and thanks to all the fans for listening to our music. I mean, we're like the little band that couldn't. it's like one album a decade. But you know, we have it. It's just incredible, like that these like few albums, like people, it resonates with people, and I think you know it does my heart good, my shriveled up, decrepit old heart good that you know our Disney metal tickles the pickle, so to speak. You know, so it's a nice thing. So thank you, everybody.
I've been telling people, because you know it's been like a pretty crazy last year. You know, we did Epic Fest, and now we're doing Fest in Japan and Grillfest and you know Utah, and
we played with Dragonforce last year.
Yeah,
like the band that really opened it all. They played on Long Island, so it was our home a home show. We got to play with the band that like inspired us, and that was
That's awesome.
It was just us and Dragonforce. We were like, oh my god, you know, it was like we were in high school. Like, oh my god, it's perfect. Oh my god, you know, it was crazy. So it's you know, it was a trip. It was like, oh, I can't believe it. It was,
yeah, I was just gonna. It's just like it's you know, people are like, oh yeah, it's really cool, and it's like, well, if you hang around for 20 years, eventually something happens.
Yeah, you know. People
that's my advice.
Yeah, people say, that's the end message.
Yeah.
Don't quit. Never give up. Instincts, like Peppy Hare says in Star Fox 64. Keep working, and you know your hard work will pay off. Maybe it's not, you know, maybe we're not, you know, touring the world, but we're doing our thing, and it's starting to slowly come together, and yeah, we can't wait to release more and give people more ShadowStrike / Disney / whatever else anyone could think of. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's 4th of July. Happy birthday, America. Statue of Liberty. Something. I don't know.
250 years. Well, cool. Well, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate your time. I know like I said, it takes effort to do these as well, and so I appreciate you making the time. It was a really fun conversation. I appreciate the engagement and lots of laughter, lots of good insights and stories. So, you know, thank you all. So with that, we'll sign off here, and everybody just stay metal.
Stay metal.
And